From the campus of Arkansas State University, this is Centennial Reflections.
On to victory, breaking the second to none. Beth Smith is in history, along with the others involved. For red and black shall ever wave on high for ages through.
Welcome to Centennial Reflection, a look at the history of Arkansas State University from its beginning in 1909 as an agricultural school to its present-day status as a multi-purpose university. I'm Rich Carville, host for this series, and we're going to tap the memory of Beth Smith today, who is the Alumni Director at Arkansas State University. Only the fourth in the history of the university.
That's correct. I feel pretty honored to have that position.
Well, we kind of got started in trying to dig up alumni and keep them involved back in 1924.
We did. The beginnings of the Alumni Association date back to 1924, when the first 13 graduating classes of what was then an agricultural high school figured out that their relationship with this institution didn't just end when they terminated and graduated, that they really wanted a longer history, and that they had an investment in how the institution grew and how it improved itself and how it served the region. And so the Alumni Association can actually trace its roots back to 1924, even though our alumni records and full-time alumni service and alumni directors does not date back that far.
That's always been a problem, trying to keep up with all those alums.
It has, and it's interesting that we discuss this as our centennial, because you can really trace the records to a real permanent alumni office, professional staff, to 1984 when we celebrated our 75th anniversary. Dr. Ruth Hawkins was our vice president at that time and was interested in alumni programming and how we serve our alumni better, and had a consultant come in and look at our records and just determine that we really didn't know very many where our alumni were or how to contact them. That system was largely on a 3x5 index card, if you can imagine.
Wait, not electronic?
Not
3x5
electronic.
index
No,
cards.
3x5 index cards. There were banks, metal file drawers that had the names of the graduates, and as you married, the name would be added, and as you divorced, the name would be revised. And if you were in all by hand, and if you were in the marching band, if you were on the Herald staff, or whatever special activities you participated in as a student, that was a hand-driven system, which is obviously not very efficient and certainly won't serve the needs for our students now. So Dr. Hawkins had moved Tom Manning into as our very first full-time professional, alumni professional, and his job was to try to track down all those people and document that into a database system that really precludes what we're doing now in terms of online and updates and that sort of thing.
Well, what about the people who were involved before Tom Manning?
Primarily, we trace our roots back to two people in our recent history. The first is Ray Hall Sr., Field Services Director, long time history with the institution. And Ray, like many people who were attached to the institution at that time, wore lots of hats. He would be recruiting students, and while he was in Hardy recruiting students, he would call on an alum who happens to live in that area. So in our recent history, we look to Ray Hall Sr. as being our first person who did alumni relations, although he didn't do it full time. Following Ray Hall Sr. was Dean Robert Moore. Again, so connected with our students, so involved with our graduates, and he would naturally track them. He didn't just take care of them as a student, but as they left, they got their degrees and moved out, Dean Moore was also involved in tracking what they were doing. It was still on 3x5 card, but he wanted to know who was where and what they were doing. And then as he began to retire, he did a little bit more full-time work, but we do track our first full-time alumni professional to Tom Manning.
Bob Moore was Dean of Students.
Yes, he was.
And those of us who were here in school at the time that he was here have very fond memories of him.
Yes, we do. I was also.
So now you're in the electronic age.
We are.
Are you able to track alumni better?
We are. It's all different now, as you can imagine. If we're not moving forward, we're going to get left behind. There are so many social media now that we can utilize to connect with alumni: Facebook, MySpace, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those kinds of things. And our office is exploring how we utilize that technology to track our alumni, because our alumni are more mobile now. We still have about 75% of our alumni population that live within a 100-mile radius of our Jonesboro campus. That takes in Boot Hill, Missouri, Western Tennessee, all of Arkansas. We have large pockets of alumni in Dallas and DC and New York, but generally you'll find most of our population in this area, but they're becoming more mobile. As these newer graduates get their degrees, they're moving out, and it's a little harder to track them when they're living in California. So we are exploring a lot of social media and how we tie into that so that we can stay connected and let them know what's happening at their alma mater.
I began a Facebook page when I retired, and I've been pleasantly surprised
Yes.
at the number of my former students who have found me through Facebook.
Yes.
So that may be the thing for the Alumni Association to
It
help
is,
keep up with.
It is. In addition to that, it's also the expense of print publications. You know, as costs continue to rise in that area, and electronic is immediate, and that's what our young alums want, is immediate contact, and so it offers a lot of opportunities.
Not
for
only
us.
on their computer, but also
But
on
on
their
that
iPod.
phone, on that phone, exactly.
I want to talk with you about publications. The one that we all remember is Affairs of State, and we'll talk about that and about some of the other publications when we come back right after this break.